Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? We're going to take just another 30 seconds to set up before we begin. Thank you for sticking around. If you've been with us since early this morning, I hope you enjoyed Professors Kiva, McCotter, and Professor Josh Hollis's lectures. I see some people in the chat. Hi there to the both of you. Welcome, welcome. Now, can you hear me? Please type yes or no. Is my voice coming through clearly to you? Welcome back, Jongdaeun. Nice to see you again. Well, I will turn on my camera now so that your statement is correct. You can see me again. Great, great. Jenny, Suhyun, Unju, wow. We have another student, Teenage Dream. Hello, everyone. Excellent. So without further ado, we will start our lecture today about art and photography. We're going to be chatting about your favorite art, and we're also going to be looking at how we can describe art. And our grammar point today will be prepositions, words like in, on, under, and so on. So that's our general outline for today. Remember, this is an English chat, so I would encourage you to speak a lot. So type in the comments as much as possible. Hyunsuk, hello. Good, good. Okay, it's great to see so many familiar names here in the chat room. I hope you're doing well on this nice autumn weekend. Now, jumping right in to our discussion. As usual, we have our warm-up questions. So question number 1, I'd love to hear your answer in the chat. Do you consider yourself to be artistic? It means, are you good at art? Are you artistic? Do you consider yourself to be is a longer way to say, do you think of yourself as, right? Do you think of yourself as artistic, an artistic person? So jump in. I'll give you a few seconds to formulate your answers and type them up. So do you consider yourself to be artistic? In my case, I do not consider myself to be artistic. I appreciate art, meaning I enjoy art in a variety of forms, but I have no artistic talent. To give you an example, I cannot even draw a stick figure. So a stick figure would be making a circle for a person's head and then a series of lines to represent their body. That's my level of art. But what about you? I'd like to hear from you instead. Suhyun says, I am not good at art, but I like music. Excellent answer. So you maybe enjoy listening to music. You have an interest in a variety of musical genres, I'm imagining. Good. Thank you for your answer. Perfect. Jongdaeun says, I am so sad that I am not artistic at all. I feel your pain because I'm the same way. Hyunsuk Jung says, I'm not an artist, but I like to draw. Perfect. Oh, you enjoy drawing. That's lovely. It's a great way to relieve stress. Good. Jenny says, my sister is a painter, but I am not artistic at all. Perfect sentence. I can relate with you because I have a sister in Canada who's very good at music, whereas I'm not. But Jenny says further, my sister goes to art museums quite often, and I usually become her company. Lovely sentence. So you accompany her. You join her on her trips to art museums. You sound like a good sister. And we have Unju. I am good at knitting. Hey, that's a great skill. Knitting, right? Crocheting, making clothes or hats or scarves, accessories. Good. And my friends say I'm good at drawing. Nice. as well, but I don't think so. I think you're being humble. You're being very humble. You're not admitting to your talents. Great. Those are two very unique hobbies. Teenage dream, I don't think I am artistic. I want to learn how to draw. Good, good. So maybe you'll be able to study that in the future. There are a lot of art hagwons, art academies, not only in Korea, but in almost every country, every country of the world. So that's a great hobby to pursue, improving your artistic skills. Good, everyone. Okay, moving on. Number 2, how often do you go to art museums? So how often is a question of frequency. Every week? Well, I would be impressed if you go every week. That's certainly a commitment. You might say, I go to art museums or I go to art galleries every month or once a month, maybe once every 2 months or once every 3 months, maybe once or twice a year or rarely, not that often, never. So how about you? In my case, before the pandemic, before coronavirus, I would go around once a month. I would visit galleries around Seoul, like I believe there was the Hyundai Gallery, the Lilum, it was maybe Samsung Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the Daelim Gallery. There were several that I would try to go to before the pandemic. And how about yourself? Hyunsuk, yes, I haven't been able to go recently. Perfect answer. And same here. Me too. Unju, never. Museums are boring. My opinion. Great. You're entitled to your opinion. They're very quiet, aren't they? It's very awkward trying to speak with your friends in those museums. Teenage dream. I go to art museums once a year, I guess. Perfect answer. Good, good. And Hyunsuk, however, when traveling abroad, I always visit the local museums. Yes, I do that too. I thought I was the only one. Yes, of course. It's a great way to learn about that country that you're visiting. Good. Jenny, yes, my sister and I go to art museums quite often, 4 or 5 times a year, maybe. Lovely answer. Suhyun, I'd just go to art museums for homework. Because you have to, because of studying. I see. That's a fair reason. That's a valid reason. Wow, it's been super long since I've been to one. I relate with you. I know that feeling. Excellent answers. YouTube museum. Hyunsuk. Wow, that's a really great idea. I need to remember that. After this lesson, I'm going to search on Google about these YouTube museums. Maybe it's a tour of a museum that's shown on YouTube. Anyway, great. That's a good service. Okay, number 3, a question I would really like to hear about from you. Who is your favorite artist and why do you like them so much? So whose art do you enjoy? You could answer with the name of a painter, but you can even extend it to any type of art if you wanted to. So artist, when we say an artist, it could even mean a musician or a singer-songwriter or somebody who makes sculptures. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a painter. So please answer however you'd wish about your favorite artist. In my case, I'm going to save my answer for later because on the following slides, I'm going to show you some of my favorite painters from my country, Canada. So I'll keep quiet for now, but I'd like to hear your answers first. And in the chat, Unju says, I hate museums because I have to take many pictures. Yes, I've noticed that these days with the rise of smartphones and Instagram, that when I go to art museums, not only in Korea, but in other countries too, across Europe, back when I used to travel, I would notice so many people taking pictures of the art on the wall. And I kind of would think, well, maybe they're not really viewing the art as the artist intended, right? So usually we have this stereotype or this idea that when we go into the art museum, we need to stand silently in front of a painting and look at it for many, many minutes, right? Many long moments, and feel some feelings and think about your own reaction to the art. But these days, people, they tend to go into the museum and snap a bunch of pictures of the art and then they move on. So I think that the gallery experience is changing with this new generation and with our technology. Okay, I'll move on to the chat. That was my rant, my complaining about art galleries. Now to the question, who is your favorite artist? Hyunsuk says, I love Mucha. I can't stop looking at their pictures because I'm fascinated by the colors. This is the first time I've heard of Mucha, and I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce Mucha well, but I'm going to make a little note of it actually, because at the end of our lecture, if we have time, I'm going to be looking at some artwork of your suggestion. So I'll show your recommendations on our screen and we can talk about it some more. So I can try to search for Mucha later. If you want, you can send a link to a particular picture that you like so that we could all see it later. Soo-hyun says, my kids, that they draw every Mother's Day. Oh, that's so sweet. Yes, children's artwork is invaluable. It's so precious and special. I know that my mother in Canada, she still has all of those cards that I had made for her, all of the pictures that I used to draw for her. She kept them in a box decades later. That's so sweet. Jenny says, the American film director Steven Spielberg. Aha, a Spielberg fan. It's hard not to be a Spielberg fan because he has made so many incredible classic movies. Good answer. And you're correct because film is another type of art. So thank you for including film. Teenage Dream says, I am not sure he or she is my favorite artist, but Banksy is the best artist in the world right now, I guess. Banksy, yes. So I'm not that familiar with street art, also known as graffiti, but I prefer the term street art. I think it sounds more elevated. I'm not so familiar with street art, but I definitely know of Banksy and some of Banksy's more famous, what can I call them? Pieces? Yes, pieces of art, installations. And I'm not sure, but do we know the identity of Banksy yet? Because Banksy was keeping their identity a secret. And has this secret been revealed? I'm not sure, but if you happen to know, please follow up. Good answers. All right. Now, some people have already answered this question before, but if you don't mind, we can share. Do you have any artistic friends or family members? And what kinds of art do they create? So do you know anybody who is great at some type of art? Maybe you have an artist in your family. In my case, I could say that in Canada, I have an uncle who is a visual artist, and I have a great uncle. So that means not my uncle, but my father's uncle. So somebody who's much older than me, my great uncle. He was a violinist. He played the violin very well. And speaking of music, I have a sister, a younger sister in Canada, who is a music major. So she can play classical music, classical piano very well, and she can compose. She can write her own music too. So I could say that music runs in my family. There's some little bit of musical talent in my family. Music runs in the family, but it stopped at me because I did not inherit those traits. But what about you? I believe we have, let's see, Jenny. Yes, Jenny's sister is a painter. And anybody else with an artistic friend or family member? Hyunsuk says, among my friends, there is a fashion designer and a doll designer. Wow, how unique. That's lovely. So I do have a question. Your friend who is the fashion designer, do you ever get to wear some of their pieces, some of their articles of clothing? That's a nice perk, a nice advantage of having a friend in that industry. Suhyun, 3 of my friends are artistic. Very good. You surround yourself with artistic people. Unju says, my aunt is excellent in knitting and making things since she's a kindergarten teacher. Good answer. You know, I think that kindergarten teachers are very creative people because they're often doing craft time, so making stuff with the kids, painting, singing songs, dancing, maybe playing musical instruments like the recorder, something like that. So kindergarten teachers have to do a lot. Good answer. Jung Da-woon says, my dad is very good at drawing. He used to draw my mom. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Sadly, I didn't get that talent from my dad. Well, maybe it's never too late to learn if you'd like to get into drawing. And portraiture, making portraits representing the image of a person through art. Jenny says, thanks, Professor. My mom is also an artist. She is designing clothes. Oh my gosh, what a talented family. I guess my sister has my mom's genes. I love that expression. So genes, not like 청바지, not like your jeans on your body that you wear, but genes as in your DNA. So she has her mother's genes. Good, good. Excellent. Okay, and final question before we move on. What is the most famous statue in your country? So think about Korea, or if you're tuning in from abroad, another country. I know that we sometimes have students from Australia or Thailand, anywhere really. The famous statue, so some type of figure, something that, a statue could be of a person or of an animal or something abstract, some shape that we're not quite sure what it is. So are there any famous statues in your country? In Canada, where I'm from, we have a few famous statues, but I cannot select one. There's not just one top statue, but we have a giant spider. Actually, I'll show you on the next slide. It's a really famous piece of art in our capital. We also have a beautiful series of statues at our War Museum, at the National War Museum, statues of soldiers engaging in battle. And what else? In Canada too, we also have a lot of Indigenous art. So art made by the original people of the land. So Aboriginal art. We have a lot of totem poles. So a totem pole, I wish I had a picture. They're these long, protruding sticks from the ground that are painted with different animals' faces. And the animals represent something special or have a meaning or story behind it. So we have a lot of that in my country too. Enough about Canada. Let's check back in with Korea. So, any famous statues in Korea? Oh, Teenage Dream commented, no spider pictures. Are you arachnophobic? Are you afraid of spiders? Okay, but then maybe you need to cover your eyes on the next slide, but it's not too scary looking in my opinion. All right. And we have, a previous answer for the last question. Unju says, my cousin is an excellent drawer. Sorry, she is excellent in drawing. Yes. She once drew her daughter, my niece, great word, eating a jelly, so eating some kind of candy, and it was super good. And I learned some new techniques. Wonderful, wonderful. And you explained that so well. Fantastic English. Good. So I hope that your family member continues to draw and they continue to develop or foster their talent. Okay, last question. Any answers? Yes, Jenny, I'm so glad you said it. I was expecting at least one answer about the statue of King Sejong. Is quite well known indeed. hmm And there is a hand sculpture in Pohang. Ah, very good. I've never been to Pohang, but if I travel there in the future, I will certainly search for this sculpture. Is it a big hand? I wonder what it looks like. I'll have to search it later. Good, good. Okay, well, I'll change the slide. And if you're afraid of spiders, please look away. But this is maybe one of the most iconic statues in my country. It's called Maman, Maman. And if you speak French, Maman, well, maybe even you can guess the meaning because it sounds like what in English? Mama, mama, mother. Yes, so it's just kind of called the spider mother. And I know it could look creepy, a little bit scary, like something from Halloween, but it's supposed to be this loving, generous, caring statue. So when you walk under, you're supposed to feel some mother's love and mother's protection. Whether or not you agree with me and with this statue's concept, it's open for discussion. But anyhow, this is a very famous thing that if you travel to Canada, to Ottawa, you may see it. Let's see some reactions. Oh, wow, that's an amazing spider. Thank you. I saw that once in Japan. I wonder if the Canadian artist was inspired by the Japanese artist first, or if it's a similar concept. Interesting. A scary mother spider rather than a loving mother spider. Okay, good, good. Looks like at night the spider would become alive. Yes, the spider would wake up, become alive, and move around. Now I'm getting a little frightened. When I was younger, I thought this statue was really cool, but now that I'm older, I agree. It is a little bit jarring, a little bit frightening. Ah, yes, Hyunsuk. Yes, maybe it's the same artist. That would make sense. So you've seen it before. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm just going to spend a very short amount of time introducing you to some Canadian art because I think that on the world stage, Canadian art is not that well known. It's not like European art or the classic pop art that you would find in America, right? So I'm going to give you a very short primer, a very short introduction or breakdown of Canadian art. And I'm a big lover of Canadian art, but I will admit that maybe to the average viewer, it could be a little bit boring because the subject matter is always the same. I shouldn't say always the same, but oftentimes Canadian artists and the really popular ones in Canada have been inspired by nature. So lots of nature. Canada has lots and lots of trees and mountains and rocks, so that's what the artists tend to paint. So this one, it looks like a sad little tree. It's a sad tree, but it's actually one of our most famous paintings. And when you are in the country, if you go to a school or a hospital or into somebody's home, you'll probably see this painting. People love this painting. And it's called The West Wind. I'll read it real fast here. It's probably the most famous painting by one of our most famous artists named Tom Thomson. And he belonged to a group of painters called the Group of Seven. The Group of Seven, they were 7 artists who would join together, go out into nature, into the woods, in the forest, and paint what they saw. Animals, trees, lakes, and so on. So they produced a lot of impressionist works about the Canadian landscape, about nature, a long time ago. So that's one. And our second, maybe our second most famous, is Emily Carr. And maybe you've heard of this name if you ever travel to British Columbia, so our westernmost province, around Vancouver, Victoria. Emily Carr was from that region, and now many art schools, many academies use her name. So she was another famous painter, and she was inspired by the Indigenous, so the Aboriginal people of Canada. I'll check the chat. Is it the group of 7 or the group of Stephen? Unju, good question. Oh, there is a typo. Your listening skills were spot on. It is the group of 7. I will type it there. 7. Well, good eye for detail. I think I was writing in a hurry and Stephen happened instead of 7. Good stuff. So anyhow, Canadian art, very influenced by nature and by the Indigenous peoples. And I'll show you 2 of my personal favorite artists who are Indigenous. So this artist, his name is Benjamin Chichi, and he was famous for making a style of art which drew animals in a very beautiful and minimal way. So not too much color, as you can see, lots of white, lots of blank space, and long lines, long flowing lines. So that was his style. Unfortunately, he passed away many years ago, but his art is so famous in Canada. If you travel to my country, you will see these around the country. So I love this art. I love Benjamin Chichi. And another is a man named Norval Morisseau. Now, Norval Morisseau, also deceased, but about a few decades ago, I would say in around the 70s, he was considered the Picasso of Canada. Because as you can tell, you can notice some of Picasso's influence. He liked Picasso's style. So he did that, but he applied it to Indigenous stories, Indigenous mythology, Indigenous creatures. So you can see themes about, nature, fishing. Here we have his famous work, A Man Changing into a Thunderbird. A thunderbird is like a mythical creature, kind of like maybe an eagle in the sky. So this is a very typical style of art that you can find in Canada. Yeah, very colorful. Excellent. Thank you for the comments. You're so sweet. But I'll move on from the Canadian stuff. But if you have a Korean artist that you really want to recommend to me and to others, please put it in the chat. Okay, so now we're on to idiom and expression time. So do you know any expressions or idioms related to art? So we have one here, picture perfect. Taking a picture. If you say something is picture perfect, it looks great. It looks like a professional photographer had taken the picture. It looks amazing. I could say to my friend, hey, today you look picture perfect. You look great. You belong in a magazine. That's one example. Do you happen to know any others? Some expressions related to art. I'll give you a moment. Right here we have another. Paint the town red. It's a little bit of an older expression, but you might hear it in Hollywood movies. Somebody says, hey, it's Friday night. Let's go paint the town red. It means let's have a party. Let's have fun. I don't know why we started saying this, but it's a fixed expression and you might hear it. It's still common enough today. So if you ever hear paint the town red, it's not literal. Nobody's going to paint the city. It just means let's go have fun. Let's make a mess. Let's have a party. So other expressions that you know. Art is long and life is short. Yes, Jenny, I'm so glad you mentioned that one. I've heard that before. It means art can last a long time, maybe longer than a person's individual lifetime. Good. And I've heard that in a Korean song too. I forget who sings it, but anyway, I've heard that it's really often used as an expression. 정다운, the big picture! Actually, I'm going to teach that in the next slide, so I won't comment, but good stuff. Fine art. Fine art. Very special, very detailed. I could say that this smartphone is a work of fine art. It's so luxurious. It's so precious. Good. State of the art. Also good. State of the art means the best, the most modern. Again, maybe the cell phone usage is better here as an example. So this is a state of the art telephone. It's the top, it's the best amount of technology available. Good. Oh, we have a lot in here. Get the picture. 정다운, thank you. Yes, also get the picture means I understand. So I could tell my friend, okay, so you have an exam coming up. The exam will involve studying X, Y, and Z. Do you get the picture? Do you understand? Did you hear my message? And they would say, I got it. Or, yeah, I got the picture. I know. Thank you for giving me the summary. Good. Yes, Teenage Dream. It was Zico. That was the line. Yeah, good. Thank you for being able to answer my question. That's a great song. All right. Jano, welcome. Good to see you in the chat. State of the art. Yes. Top of the line. Most recent. Excellent. All right. I'll teach you two very quickly in here. And the big picture, it was mentioned already in the chat. The big picture is talking about the global perspective, the overall idea. So we say it if you want to know the most important stuff about a situation, not the little details, just the overall message. So the example here is, in my work, I try to concentrate on the big picture and not be distracted too much by the small, irrelevant details. So in a job interview, you might say, I'm a big picture thinker. It means that I don't sweat the small stuff too much. It's a little bit opposite of detail oriented. I'm a big picture thinker. I look at the end result. I look at the conclusion. I care about overall what matters, not so much the little fine details. Oh, Jenny, yes, another good one here came in. When people fall in love, everybody becomes artists, meaning everyone becomes very romantic, better at speaking, maybe saying romantic words like a poet, or maybe they become more sensitive. Good quote. And Jano, con artist. Oh, yes, of course. Now that's a very bad type of artist, but a con artist is a scammer. Oh, yes, I'll type that word here. Con artist, scammer. If you've been conned, conned, it means you've been tricked or you've been scammed. Good word. That's a pretty good expression to use. Awesome. Okay, our next one. Oh, and by the way, if you want to make a sample sentence, go ahead, try it out in the chat. But our next expression is the picture of health. The picture of health means that somebody is the representation of health. It means they're so healthy. They're very robust. Robust is very full of energy, full of vitality. Vitality is a synonym, right? So very full of eagerness for life, lots of energy. So the picture of health, we could say, my grandmother, who is 80, dances every day, and she's the picture of health. She's still the picture of health, meaning she just is healthy. She looks healthy. So that's another one you might use. And let's see the chat here. Jano, yes, lovely to see you again too. Oh, and do not apologize. Sorry for being away. No, that's fine. Everyone has been busy with midterms, with a lot of other things. It's a busy period. busy time of year. But thank you for making time today. Okay, everybody, we have a little bit of time left. So I'm going to give you a small grammar review. After the grammar review, we're going to use these words when we describe paintings. So we're going to apply what we learned to some paintings. And Unju has a question, though, about the picture of health. Unju asks, can we call someone in the picture of health? In the picture of health, we would just say that they are. Yeah. She is the picture of health. She is the picture of healthy. No, we just take the main word, the main concept. The picture of health. It's a fixed expression. Good question. All right, so from our screen here, our grammar point today, prepositions. There are many prepositions to learn, so we won't spend too much time talking about them, but I wanted to give you a quick reminder of some commonly confused prepositions in, on, and at. So I will give you a very short summary, and then we'll apply this work together. And I chose to talk about prepositions today because while they are small words, they can kind of get confused sometimes. And students usually learn the nuances or the exact meaning or feelings of these words later on. So in here, we have a lot of very high-level speakers. So even advanced students, I noticed they might confuse one from time to time. So it's good to review these. All right, you're in, on, and at. It's good to think of these as you start from the biggest concept of in, and you go to the smallest, which is at. At is precise. It's you can think of the GPS location, right? So it's exactly in time, a certain time, at 7 a.m., at 5 p.m., at noon on the dot, at 12 o'clock. Or if you're talking about a location, again, it's your GPS. It's the exact address. Then we kind of broaden our thinking a little with on. On deals more with surfaces. So when we use on, we're talking about exact days. If you have a calendar, you can take your finger and put your finger on the actual date, right? Like on May 7th, on my birthday, on the weekend, like this. Same thing we have on for surfaces, like a cup on the table, and avenues, or streets. So on the street, on the corner of 5th and 7th Avenue. All right, next. Oh, we have buffering. Oh gosh, let's see what's going on here. Sorry, everyone. It looks like our stream is a little slow. Let me see. Are we okay, everyone? I hope so. All right, I'll continue, but if things are a little bit hard to view, if you can't see me well or hear me well, please write me a message in the chat. And Jano says, I use this picture for my kids. Yes, I love this teaching tool. It's so precise. I can't hear you, but now is okay. I hope it's okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. And for in, this one is bigger, right? So we are being contained in something. If it's time, there's a start and the end to something. So a century, decade, year, month, week. With a week, for example, there's a start of the week and end of the week. It's a container, so you can go in. And with your location, think of the country as a container, right? So you are in the country. You are in Korea. Right now, we are in Seoul City. So think of that. In is like a container. On is a surface. At is GPS location. All right. So do we have time? Actually, we're going to try looking at we'll just do these 5. Looking at these 5 here, could you please write what the answer should be if it's an in, on, and at, or X for no preposition needed? So how do we answer these? And while you're answering the grammar questions, I'm going to check my video settings to see what's going on. Aha, in the chat, people are saying it seems to be okay now. Good. But Jano says, do you guys see the buffering sign too? Aha. It may be the case that for some students, the stream is coming through just fine, but for other students, it might be a little bit lagging. So let me see what can be done. Just a moment. Okay. And if you're able to see the screen with the 5 questions, please type an answer in the chat. Hyunsuk, thank you. Very good. We have 5 answers from Hyunsuk. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, so I will reveal the answers and read them to you. If you're not done yet, that's okay. Just follow along. And we'll move on to another section. So here, yes, please don't call me at lunchtime. At is the exact time. I won't be able to answer my phone in the restaurant. Yes, correct answers. Number 2, you should arrive on time. Yes, please don't be late. Number 3, I'm going to do a lecture at their university next week. We don't need anything there. Number 4, they're getting married in 3 months. In 3 months from now. Perfect answers, everyone. And this castle was built in this century. Yes, it's a time period, so we are in it. Okay, excellent. I think this could be too easy for you here today. So I wanted to just leave you with a few more tips regarding prepositions. There are, I want to say, around 200 or more prepositions and prepositional phrases. So it's hard to study them. So I'm going to give you 3 small tips here. How can you get better at prepositions if you find them to be tricky? And I wanted to say, when you study these, maybe not in, on, and at, maybe you know those, but others like for, since, until, to, those can get tricky. And I wanted to say, don't worry too much about them, but you need to realize how native speakers actually speak and actually use them. So what I mean by that is, if you make a preposition mistake, native speakers will still understand you. They're not the most important part of your sentence. And if you know the grammar rules well, sometimes you'll find cases where even if you think that the grammar rule is incorrect, native speakers are breaking that rule all the time. So I wanted to give you a quick example. Here, maybe you were told before in school that you should never ever end a sentence with a preposition. But as you can see from the examples, it's grammatical and very normal and natural in some cases to use a preposition at the end of your sentence. So don't be scared, don't be shy. You can put a preposition at the end of your sentence. Like, where are you from? That's normal. We wouldn't say, like, from where do you come? That's a little uncomfortable. What are you interested in? What are you into? That's okay. Something that you're working on. You could say, do you have someone to go with? Hey, the party is this weekend. Do you have someone to go with? That's very normal, very conversational. Or, for example, she hates being stared at. These are all just some examples. So what I'm saying is the grammar books teach you one thing, but sometimes you need to actually focus more on how these words are really used by native speakers. And here we have, don't just study them alone. Learn them in context. Nuance matters. So you might notice that there's some nuance between the to me versus for me construction. Someone might say, oh, this was good for me, or this was good to me. Maybe this person was good for me, or this person was good to me. And they have some nuanced differences. So pay attention to that. And when you read, my final tip, pay attention to how the prepositions are used. So look at every case individually and figure out the sense. All right, I'm going to do a little check-in here. Can everybody still hear me and see me? Because I think we have a little bit of that buffering issue again, unfortunately. So in just a moment, I'm going to show you a painting, and I would like for you to describe the painting that you see on the screen. So we're going to discuss some art. We have about 10 minutes left. I want you to pay attention to how you use your prepositions. So what do you see in the painting? Unju, thank you. Thank you for checking in. Good. What do you see in this painting? You might describe some clocks, melting clocks on branches, on a rectangle, on a surface. What do you see in the painting? A few sentences would be fine. What do you see? Try out those prepositions. And I'm sure many of you know this famous painting, The Persistence of Memory. Persistence meaning something that persists, it endures, it's ongoing, it doesn't stop. The Persistence of Memory by, of course, Dali. Yes, Anju, melting clocks, yeah. In this painting, I see many melting clocks. And if you happen to know the meaning or the message behind this painting, you can feel free to share that as well, if you know what the artist is trying to convey. Perfect. Yes, melting clocks on the table and the tree. Thank you, Teenage Dream. Good. This person is good for me to talk to. Thank you, Jane, though. Yes, that was from earlier. Good, good. I'm sorry I didn't spend much time explaining that slide. I wanted to move on to the end of the presentation. Melting clocks on a table. Good, good, good. Yes, yes. I wonder, are there any Dali fans in here? A few years ago, I don't remember the city I was in. It might have been Amsterdam or it might have been in France, I forget, but I went to a Salvador Dali exhibition and it was incredible, but I didn't really understand most of the paintings. They were a little abstract for me, a little too complicated. I remember something about surrealistic, like surrealism. Yeah, and you, me too. I think I know a little about it, but it's hard to explain. Jenny says, I can see clocks everywhere. One is hanging on the tree. The second one is on the desk. Last is on a strange looking white object. Correct. That was wonderfully explained. Is that a swimming pool on the left? It may be. It's really hard to tell. I can't even be sure. It looks like a surface, but it could also be water. Beside the sea is a big rock mountain. Beautiful. Great usage. Sorry, not into art. I don't see anything. Okay, that's fine. This one is less abstract, so we can talk about her next. This is the famous girl with a pearl earring. So what can you describe in this painting? What do you see? Oh, Jano says, is that a dead horse on the ground? Here? It looks like it. It definitely has the shape of some fallen animal, but it's hard to tell. It also could just be a sheet or a blanket. Okay, back to the Vermeer. The girl with the pearl earring. So you can talk about maybe something on her head, something in her ear, right? An earring in her ear. She's wearing earrings. Maybe you could talk about her makeup, her face, or what you think is happening in this painting. Hyunsuk says, I like it. Yes, this one's beautiful. And she does have eyebrows. They're just very fine. They're not dark. They're not pronounced. She does have eyebrows, even if it looks like she doesn't have them. Jano says, way too complicated. I feel the same way about art. Yes. So, she's wrapped something around her head. She's wrapped a scarf, I believe, a headscarf around her head, or she is wearing a headscarf. Good, good, good. Or you could call it a hairband. Yeah, that could be a hairband too. She's wearing a hairband on her head. I see a big pearl dangling in her ear. Great word, dangling, hanging from her ear. Unju says, I think she was a servant, or maybe there's something seriously wrong with my memory. You know, I think you're correct. I do recall hearing something about that. She was an important member of somebody's household, and she may have been kind of in a more serving kind of role. Jenny says, I can see a beautiful girl. She is staring at something, looking at something. She is wearing pearl earrings. Her hair is covered with hairbands and cloths. Yes, good, good, good. Jano says, it's simply a girl with a pearl earring. Yes. She is wearing makeup, red lipstick. Good, good. Quick tip, no S on lipstick. We just say it as one thing. Good. Yes, she's wearing a type of red lipstick. Beautiful. And of course, we have our Starry Night. So iconic, so famous. If there's anything you'd like to describe in this painting, please go ahead. We have some stars in the sky. It looks like we have a moon in the sky. In the background, looks like some mountains. And below that, we have some type of village. This is hard to describe. Might be a tree. I'm not an expert on this, so feel free to share your opinion. And Jano said about the earlier painting, the French Mona Lisa. Yeah, she could be. And she's wearing a goldish colored jacket. Good word, goldish, ish, ish, kind of one thing, kind of another. Yeah, a little bit gold, a little bit another tone. Good, good. All right, this one, our Starry Night. I may have already given you all of the answers, all there is to say about this. Sorry. Yes, in the sky, Suhyun. Yeah, stars in the sky. We wouldn't say on the sky because it's kind of, how can I say, too literal. We can't really put our finger on a star on the sky. It's in the sky. The sky is like a container and there's stuff in the sky. Good question. There are many stars in the sky. There's a moon, a town, a tall tree, etc. Yes, thank you. Great, great. There is a church in the village. Yeah, in the village, right? The village has some boundary. Yeah, it's like a container of many, many establishments. So you're in the village. Good, good. The sky shows that it's a windy day at night. Yeah. So the sky shows that it was, how can we say that? No, you're correct. Yeah, it is a windy. You can just say it's windy at night. The sky shows that it is windy at night. If we say it's a windy day at night, maybe the day and night kind of cancel each other. But it does look bright, like it could be daytime. It's hard to know. I don't know the exact time of this. It could be in the evening, maybe, around when the moon is still rising. The mountain is in the back. The town is in the front. Perfect. Yes, good. On the left side, there are trees. Yes, good job. On the left side, there are trees. Awesome. And, well, we don't really have time, but here's one more. A famous photograph. Lunch atop, so on the top of a skyscraper from 1932. This image always shocks me, and I can't believe that some men decided to really do this on their lunch break when they were building a large skyscraper. So that's amazing. We can talk about how, there are many men sitting on a beam, sitting on some kind of platform. And Jano tends to know a lot about Van Gogh. Yes, really amazing personal story. And we could probably have a whole lecture on it. Good, good. Well, it's already 1 o'clock. I can't believe how fast time flies. We'll have to end our lesson here. Thank you so much for joining me today or sticking around for the entire 3 hours with the professors. And I apologize again for the little buffering issue. I'll try to sort that out for the next time. And I will be back here November 6th, same time, Saturday at 12 p.m. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We hope that you have a great day, and we hope that you learned a little thing or two. It was a lot of fun. I was happy to speak with you all again. So until next time, bye-bye. Take care. And again, thank you so much. Everyone in here, your English is awesome. I really love hearing from you. And happy Halloween. Yes, happy Halloween. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.